Hi everyone! If you've been making tofu or soya milk recently, you probably have a bag like this somewhere in your freezer. But not for much longer, because today we're going to make beautiful biscuits out of this. And if you don't know what this is, you need to keep watching. So for those of you who don't know what this is Okara. This is basically dry pulp from soybeans, and you normally get it in the process of making tofu or soya milk. So the pulp is extremely nutritious and delicious. You can use it in all sorts of cooking and baking. You should never throw it away. And if you don't know how tofu is made, I'll include a link in the description on my video on how to make tofu. So today we're going to use the pulp to make really gorgeous biscuits. So everything within the soya beans is consumed and nothing is wasted. So the ingredients you need, first thing you need is the pulp, Okara. My pulp is quite dry, so I can use it almost straight out of the freezer. It's perfectly fine. If your pulp has a lot more moisture in there, then you want to leave it to return to room temperature, so it's easier to handle. We also need some flour. So I'm using white flour, all-purpose flour, but you can use brown flour if you want to. And we need some sugar as well. So I'm using the brown sugar, but you can use the morella or any kind of sugar you choose. I prefer dark brown sugar because it's got that really rich, almost trickly flavor to it. And we also need some olive oil. We only need a very small amount, so just use any kind of oil of your choice. And we also need some milk. So I happen to have some freshly made soya milk in my fridge, so I'm using that. But you can use any kind of nut milk. We only need a very small amount. So you can make plain biscuits if you prefer, but I'm also making some with different ingredients and toppings. I'm gonna make some with raisins here, just dry raisins. And I also have some almonds. So these are unroasted almonds. And if you're feeling extravagant, like I do, you can have some chocolates as well. So I've got some chocolate chips here, and these are great. I found these from a local supermarket. So it's 100% vegan and it's got 0 trans fat, which is always good. So great, we're ready to make the biscuits. So making the biscuits really couldn't be easier. Basically, we're going to add in all ingredients and mix it, and that's it. So the first thing we want to add is the flour. So we want 100 grams of white or brown flour. So that's 100 grams. And then we're going to add Okara. So I've got 100 grams here. So equal amount of flour and Okara. So you can add in. And the next thing, we're going to add in the sugar. So this is 50 grams of dark brown sugar. Okay, so that's the sugar in there. And now we need 2 tablespoons of olive oil, or any kind of oil of your choice. So you want to choose the ones that doesn't have too pronounced flavor. So olive oil works for me. So it's 1 and 2. And we also need 2 tablespoons of milk. So we're going to pour it. I'm using soya milk. That's it. So we're going to use an egg beater. Just mix it. Mix all ingredients together. And now I'm going to use my hand just to crumble and just make sure everything is mixed together nicely. So just use your hands and squeeze. So if you find that in the process the mixture is slightly dry, then add a bit more soya milk to it. Or is it too wet, add a bit of flour, but just very little at a time. So bear in mind that I happen to use a cold press juicer to extract the pulp. So my pulp is a lot drier. If you use the hand method, and if you use the cheesecloth to squeeze out the soya milk, the pulp you end up with might contain a lot more moisture. So you want to adjust the amount of flour slightly to make sure you get the right consistency. So gradually you can see it's become a bit more sticky and they start to clump together. So if you want to add moisture, only add very little at a time. Same with flour. If you feel that you need to adjust it to get the right consistency. Do it very little at a time so you don't mess up the recipe. So you need a little bit of patience and a bit of faith to so you don't panic. If it feels too crumbly, don't add the liquid too quickly. Just make sure you work it a bit more before you do that. So as you can see that it's formed a really nice ball like this, and now we're going to shape it into individual biscuits. So I'm going to take the dough and then divide it in 4 equal parts because I have 4 different flavors. So I'm using a dough cutter, but you can just use a knife. So I'm going to just divide it into 4 parts. Okay. And each part I'm going to divide further. So you can make kind of any size you want, depends on your liking, but I find make it smaller, they tend to come out crunchier and takes less time to bake. So that's my 4 balls. And now I'm gonna divide each individual balls into further 4. Okay. So that will be 1 biscuit for me. So the first ball I'm going to make plain cookies. So I'm going to just shake them and then press the middle slightly. Make a little dent in the middle. And the second one I'm going to make, I'm going to mix it with some nuts. So I've got some almonds chopped finely. So it's a little bit sticky, but it should be quite easy to handle. So I just want to mix the nuts into the dough as evenly as possible. So I'm going to do the same with the almond biscuits. We're going to divide it into 4 parts, 4 equal parts, or as equal as possible. And the same thing, I'm going to press it slightly in the middle. But with the almond one, I'm going to add a whole almond on top. So they look nicer and also tells me it's almond biscuits. So the hands will get slightly sticky, but that's part of the fun. So I'm going to do the same with raisins and chocolate. So the shapes don't have to be perfect. I mean, this is home baking, so I really like the organic look. They look totally handmade. I mean, handling dough is just so much fun. You feel like a child playing with clay. And only this is edible clay. The process is extremely messy and fun. So in the process, if you find the dough becomes too wet, you could pad it with a little bit of flour, but go easy with the flour. Just add enough that you can handle it. The same thing, I'm going to take the chocolate and put it on top. So I know this one's the chocolate biscuits. So there you go, I've got all my biscuits done. So each one I managed to have 4 biscuits out of each flavor. And I should have 4 almond biscuits, but I dropped one on the floor, so it's gone. I wasn't going to pick it up and put it back. I'm just checking whether the oven is ready, then we can bake them. So the oven's ready, so these are going in. So the biscuits will be baked in 170 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes. So the time may vary a little bit, depends on your oven. You want to bake them till they're golden brown. So here they are. I mean, how cute are they? I use dark brown sugar, so they come out slightly darker. So if you use demerara or lighter color sugar, they will come out slightly lighter. They smell absolutely wonderful. So I'm gonna try the chocolate. And my audio stopped working for some unexplained reason. And that was me talking away in silence, totally unaware. But put that aside, the biscuits were fantastic. They were so wonderfully earthy and so delicious. And I really hope you try it at home. So I hope you like the video and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.